Travis when he gets home. Yeah. I got beat up yesterday. 10 hours of sleep this morning. So, yeah, it wasn't as bad because I don't see blistering yet. Where I was, the day that I was evicted, I ended up on Mount Olympus and passed out from exhaustion, and I was taken to the hospital emergency by a biker who came by, tried to psychoanalyze me, the bleeping bleep bleep, and even the doctor was psychoanalyzing me. That's medical malpractice, you bleep bleep. You're a medical doctor, you are not a psychologist. This church is really screwing up Utah, putting psychology in all the science fields. But anyway, I digress. I ended up with blisters, wounds on my hands and my feet. And then, of course, I was tortured with the incarceration at the shelter for 9 months. Which just goes to show, you don't give money, you don't donate money to the shelter because they don't help the homeless. It helps their own pocketbooks. If you want to help the homeless, you give money to those who use that money to directly help the homeless. So, for example, there were the caseworkers who had funding, sort of, never. But if you give the donations to caseworkers, the caseworker group there, then they could use that money to help the homeless. If you give it to the people who checked us in every single day, we had to go and stand in line and say, yeah, I'm here, so that we can keep our beds. They also, you can give to them, and they would be able to help us directly. And the guy that was in charge of that, checking us in, he pulled me aside and says, what do we do to get rid of you? And said, we've got this money, we can help you with it. And then, yeah, the caseworker was assigned to deflect and delay, and she delayed long enough that that money from the check-in people was gone. So it's a miracle I got in this apartment, because the third group at the shelter is the police liaison. They too have money to help the homeless. The shelter? No, they don't help the homeless. So the church giving money to the shelter as they claim to help the homeless? No. That was a money laundering operation of human trafficking. Like I told you. So this is turning out into a completely different video, isn't it? But yeah, not really. Because this video is about the added prophecies. Mormons, plug your ears. Go do something else. Come back when I'm finished. Because it's not going to be faith-promoting material as I talk to ex-Mormons and former Mormons for a moment, okay? I trust you to be honest in all your dealings, and so I will count on you to go away and come back when I'm finished, okay? Guys, ex-Mormons, former Mormons, even people who aren't Mormon, who know about the church, it's okay. It's not really prophecies. As I did the video yesterday, the Book of Mormon was a result of the Illuminati attack on America. William Morgan had infiltrated the group and obtained their plot. And he was working on it with Joseph Smith Sr. And in Canandaigua, New York, as Sr. was the master mason of the lodge. And William Morgan got found out. And on 9/11/1826, he was going to be permanently detained in debtor's prison if something didn't happen to protect him. And so, as the Master Mason, Sr. Arranged for him to flee the country and to take over the responsibility of the Book of Mormon. Ta-da! So, it's okay. You can breathe. Everything's fine. Please don't send me comments thinking that the Book of Mormon is literal history. It's not. But it is written in the learning of the Jews. It is not Christian material. Okay? Everything's fine? Alright, welcome back, Mormons. Thank you for your honesty in all that you do. You are truly Christ-like examples of honesty and integrity. Okay? So, let's start off with Joseph Smith history, the second vision. And Joseph Smith is informing us that the messenger, which the Joseph Smith Papers corrects the incorrect editing, that it's Nephi, not Moroni. And there's a reason for that, because it too is a prophecy of the latter days that Joseph Smith adds, because that's going to be the Christ's new name. Because Joseph Smith is going to tell us who our Christ is. As a Mormon church, we are going to find out who our Christ is. This is what Joseph Smith is intending to demonstrate here in 1838. And so he informs Joseph Smith about prophecies of the latter days from the Old Testament, which, as we found out from the first vision, Christianity and Jesus of Christianity are abominations, as they're anti-Semitic. They replace the Jews. When you replace the Jews, you're automatically anti-Semitic. There is no other excuse for this. Jesus does not exist. He was created by Constantine, and Constantine gave the new word that he created out of nothing, creatio ex nihilo, homusion, which means, by interpretation, not real, because he's not made of mortal substance, physical substance. Nope, he's not. And thus, if you're not physical substance, you're not real. That is the definition. And so you can see how damaging this creation has caused in the world for these 1700 years. Billions of humans have been deceived and fooled, worshiping the idol god of Roman Emperor Constantine named Jesus. And so Joseph Smith warns us that the great and abominable church of the latter days, from the first vision, is a Christian church that has Jesus. And there's a clue, because the Joseph Smith Papers reveals that the name of the church is incorrect in our canon of Scripture, that Willard Richards added to the name that Joseph Smith had originally put, which was the Church of Latter-day Saints, which was changed by the full leadership vote in 1834. It's in the Joseph Smith Papers. Lots of stuff in the Joseph Smith Papers. We really should study it more. If only this church, which has an added name to it, Well, tell us. So, yes. Do I need to have Mormons step out of the room again so that I can talk to ex-Mormons, former Mormons, and not Mormons? Or can you obey President Russell M. Nelson in his last conference and be reasonable and discreet, well, not discreet, respectful, and understand facts and acknowledge science? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the great and abominable church. In case you're having difficulty understanding what I was talking about. So the question is, are you now triggered to be a weapon for the church? Are you going to attack me because you are in the Church of Lucifer, the great and abominable church? Book of Mormon is added prophecy also about the latter days concerning the great and abominable church, which will be the enemy. You are in the great and abominable church. We all were in the great and abominable church, except for those who have never been Mormon. And those who were former and ex, they left the church because of some issue that they could not tolerate. Whether it was the lies that the church has been telling or some other abuse that they incurred by a member. You know, weaponized by the great and abominable church. So, if you're now learning this for the first time, and you're not a willing participant in the great and abominable church's evil, you should get out. Join us. Just stay away from the cult leaders of ex-Mormondom. There are several. It's bad enough that you escape from a dangerous, deadly cult group. It's another thing to think you're being rescued by going into another cult group. Even though it's not to the extreme that the great and abominable church is. So, I recommend science for your study of the scriptures now, because you're going to have to go through them all over again with a different viewpoint. Learning of the Jews, I would recommend, since the Book of Mormon says that's what you're supposed to use. And so, he goes over repeating some of the Old Testament Jewish prophecies of the latter days. But he adds some stuff. To Malachi, he adds, concerning the coming of Elijah, if it were not so, the whole earth would be utterly wasted at his coming. Okay. Them that come shall burn them. That's also changed. Yeah, the day that shall burn as an oven. This is the bicentennial year, in case you haven't caught on. That's why I'm repeating this theme of the bicentennial year all this year. Because it's kind of important to your eternal salvation, Mormons. And notice how the great and abominable church didn't even bother to bring it up at all. Not even a peep. Nothing. Silence. See, is that what they're supposed to do? Is that in accordance with Amos 3:7? You all know Amos 3:7. We were forced to memorize it, weren't we? Surely the Lord God will do nothing, save he shall revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. And even though it's incorrectly translated from the Aramaic that it was, nonetheless, we get correctly told that we need to follow the true prophet, because he's supposed to warn us vocally, directly warn us of any danger that is to come. So Nelson encoding his secrets in his conference talks, is that him being obedient to Amos 3:7? Yeah, the answer is no. And why is he doing this? Because he's the false prophet prophesied for the latter days from the great and abominable church with the great and abominable Jesus Christ. So again, if you're an enemy to the people, if you are a willing participant in the church's crimes, and I saw there were extra thumbs down on the video yesterday about the church's crimes, just talking about Joseph Smith Sr. and how Mormons were honest and did not listen to that part of the video, right? I also had a comment this morning and explained in a reply, because he wondered if Brigham Young had not been given a Book of Mormon, if none of this would have happened. And I had to make a comment to indicate that everybody was going to get a Book of Mormon, at least be presented with a Book of Mormon. And so whether it was Samuel Smith that gave Brigham Young the Book of Mormon or somebody else was going to give it to him. But it wasn't until Heber C. Kimball came to Brigham Young that he decided to join the church. He was holding back because he was wanting to see if the church had priesthood power to heal his wife. They didn't. And so when Heber came along, he became a willing participant in the plot to destroy the church and take it over for the Illuminati as the enemy. And thus would explain why Brigham Young was such an authoritarian and why he put inverted pentagrams on the Nauvoo Temple, on the Logan Temple, on the Salt Lake Temple, and his son was inspired to put an inverted pentagram on the Eagle Gate. It's because it's a symbol of the Illuminati. Lucifer, the light bearer. So I refer you to the conference talk that Uchtdorf once gave to the priesthood. Be bearers of God's light, something like that. Let's find out for you. Get the exact title. Why are you not recognizing this? There we go. Gotta spell it correctly, I guess. Bearers of heavenly light. There we go. He also says heavenly peace. That's not him. Bearers of heavenly light. It was October 2017. So you can get it on YouTube or from the church website. Assuming that their website is working after the last time I checked. Please help us improve, Google. You screwed it up, and now you want us to tell you to put it back the way it was? Algorithms. Everybody's all concerned. What's AI going to do now? Oh no, we have no clue what it's going to lead. It's going to lead to our destruction. It is not a sentient being. It is a program built by a human who is dumber than dumb. And so, yes, we're seeing all these problems with GPS or whatever it's called. And so, no, you should not be using it in the school system for your papers. No, you should not be using it to teach or to help you with anything. Because it's based on an incorrect foundation. A human, his morality, his viewpoints are programmed into the database. And so it's going to branch off from there. And it's going to lead to destruction and chaos. Because the overriding theme of this algorithm is psychology. So if you don't understand, the United States and several other nations after World War II gave asylum to many of the evil medical doctors and psychologists. And the United States used psychologists from Nazi Germany with their CIA, and were performing all sorts of human experimentations on American citizens now. They thought that was a great idea to do to the Jews. So now they're doing it on Americans. And many documents have been declassified since then. MK Ultra, which I'm getting in the mail today, was one such document, one such program for brainwashing using psychologists from Nazi Germany. And they purposely were using them to attack and destroy America in the future. They were trying to figure out, how do we brainwash the masses? Well, you got to divide and conquer, the art of war. And so you get the groups to self-fulfill the self-fulfilling prophecy of the psychologists. This is the dichotomous, non-dichotomous categorization system that Mormon, Stanley Smith Stevens developed for the way to brainwash people. And so, yeah, you can see that in the false dichotomy arguments that are running rampant in our society, that evangelicals, as the Nazi bullies, are enforcing through the courts. They took away Roe v. Wade, and now they're going to take away abortion pills. They've already indicated they're going after contraceptions of all kinds. And this is leading to women who are supposed to be submissive as breeders. No more equal citizens. They are back to where they were originally under the Constitution as breeders. That's it, that's all. Property of your husband. And Democrat liberals have no spine to stand up and fight for your freedom and rights. And the bully Nazis know this. And if you're thinking, well, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints respects women. Oh my God. No, the church used to do this under Brigham Young. They used to come out, and then when birth control pills and contraceptions were coming out in the mid-90s, the church came out and told Mormons, no, don't use them. You are supposed to be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen for all women. They told you all you can have is missionary sex, and it's only for babies. They ordered you for this, to do this. And the church doesn't want you to have abortions. The church used to run an adoption agency. And so it was in their best financial interest to get all these little girls who were raped to have the baby and give up their baby to a good, rich Mormon couple who adopts them. This is what they're restoring for their kingdom in the millennium. This is the danger that the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith was warning about. This is the plot to destroy America. And notice how both the church and these rising Nazis are doing to America. And you've got the other false dichotomy of the deep state Dems who are feeding the fuel to the Nazi agenda by being spineless and trying to fool you into thinking that we're supposed to be democratic, that truth is determined by the majority vote. Guys, so frustrating because they have succeeded. And so, the day that shall burn as an oven, this is the final year of the latter days. This is it. And so it's also the bicentennial year. And so, I wonder if Joseph Smith purposely gave this date in his visionary account, which is not literal history. Do I need to talk to ex-Mormons and former Mormons and non-Mormons again? Can Mormons behave themselves? There is added to this, for they that come. I've already explained to you who they are. Shall burn them. This is what it's leading to, guys. This is why they're causing all the chaos. It is a distraction for what they've got planned. Alright. And so the Christ. Now, Joseph Smith adds to this learning of the Jews Christ. And it's not Jesus. And I'm still haunted by that Mormon who sent me an email rather than a YouTube comment, who for some reason thinks I'm the dumb guy, despite my credentials, my resume. And he definitely doesn't have a resume. Who for some reason has fallen prey to Nelson's attempt to explain to Mormons that we're not Constantine Christians. Jesus, our Jesus as Mormons, was the real Jesus during the Roman period time. Oh my God. When you make something up, it means it did not exist prior to. It only came into existence once it was made up. So, like I showed in the video, or demonstrated in the video the other day, yesterday, tennis shoes did not exist before the creation of tennis shoes. There were shoes, sandals, and other forms of footwear, but they were not tennis shoes. And so likewise, there was the name Jesus. It's the Greek. The Hebrew is Joshua. And no, it wasn't a J, the Y, because the corruption of the European languages that turned it into a J. It's a common name. It's a very popular and famous name. But it doesn't mean that he was real before Constantine made them all up. Because homuzion was the word that Constantine created for him. And it means, by definition, not real. And so, no, Jesus is not real. By definition, by the Creator. But brainwashing really does damage to your thinking processes. And it weaponizes you. And so, yeah, once you understand this, then you can understand what the learning of the Jews is. And the Book of Mormon teaches us this. 2 Nephi chapter 25, verse 1. It is a manner of prophecy. Mormon chapter 8, verse 33. It is a book of revelation of the latter days. That's what the Jews wrote. They were writing stories. They were under attack by the Roman Empire. And so these scribes were telling stories of the prophecies of a future hope of freedom during this time of utter chaos and utter destruction. Because the Jews kind of needed some moral support during this time of crisis. And so, yeah, that's all they were. They were stories of hope in the future Christ of the Jews, who was to be born of two parents. Because, taking the Book of Mormon literally, now you have a supernatural, not real Heavenly Father coming down to earth to one of his mortal flesh daughters and breeding with her. And she's 14 years old on top of it. At least Christians said it's the Holy Ghost who impregnated Mary. Not her father. Do you see how abominable the great and abominable church is? See the plain and precious truths that were replaced by the great and abominable church? These guys are evil. And yet Mormons, who are fully complicit and weaponized, think it's okay to rape their daughters who are underage. Now do you understand why Brian David Mitchell did what he did? Now do you understand what Warren Jeffs did what he did? This church is bringing it back for the millennium. I've been warning you because of the warning of the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith. These extra added prophecies are kind of essential to your eternal salvation, let alone mortal salvation. And so the added prophecy of the Christ comes from Doctrine and Covenants, section 103, because he's talking about a man like Moses, because Moses is not real. He's the learning of the Jews, manner of prophecy of the latter days. And so Deuteronomy explains this to us through the author of Deuteronomy, which is not Moses. He's speaking as Moses, and saying that there's a man like Moses coming. And go to 16. So it's talking about the redemption of Zion. And we'll get to the location here in a minute, because we got to go out of our scriptures to find Joseph Smith's words on it. But it has to do with section 101's parable prophecy. So therefore I will raise up, oh yeah, here's the quoting from Deuteronomy, unto my people, oh, Mormons. He's going to be a Mormon. He's not going to be impregnated, or his mom is not going to be impregnated from Heavenly Father. She's not going to be a 14-year-old Mormon girl. That's just awful. She's not going to be an immaculately conceived virgin, because we all know how she's going to be treated here in Utah, wouldn't we? Even though it's not here in Utah where he's going to be born and his nativity is. Those are other prophecies. But because Joseph Smith has now told us He's a Mormon. We now can take that and plug it into all of the Old Testament and New Testament prophecies, even those that are not in the Bible. Because I watched an episode of Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, several days ago. And I'm going, oh, wow, that's this year. Because the first episode is where Hercules comes home to his wife and kids, and they are burned by the fires of Hera, the wife of Zeus, who's upset because Zeus conceived with a mortal woman who's 14 years old. To give birth to Hercules. So yes, there is precedent. But yeah, the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians, which is the source of all of this, told prophecies about the latter days. But if you're going to take them literally, or even if you're going to call them myths, you're going to get confused. And you're going to go on the wrong path, like an AI program. Isn't it worth it watching my videos this far? But yeah, that burning of his wife is from Samson. Samson's first wife is burned with fire, and I've gone over, hey, that's a prophecy for 14 October 2023. Just a month after the 22nd of September 2023, the bicentennial day, that shall burn as an oven. Seeing a pattern here? And here's further confirmation that Mormons are going to be in bondage to the Great and Abominable Church. Ye are the children of Israel and the seed of Abraham, and ye must needs be led out of bondage. He's a Mormon, born and raised in the Mormon Church, to lead Mormons like Moses did to the children of Israel, who were in bondage to the Egyptians. He is born a Hebrew woman, but in the great and abominable church of Pharaoh, and leads the Mormons out of Egypt. Do you see the pattern? This is how they prophesied. And so, yes, Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball, seeking to destroy the church, joined the church in 1832 and were the means of the Great Conversion because they went to their Danite brethren first. They who were of the Scottish Rites infiltrated by the Illuminati to destroy America. They were sort of put on hold because of what Joseph Smith Sr. did as the Master Mason. He was the American hero. And they were pissed. They wanted revenge on who did this. They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out who did this to them. Just somebody had helped William Morgan and flee the country, and the manuscript just disappeared. They don't know who had it. Well, Sidney Rigdon had it in Ohio. He's the major author of the Book of Mormon. Linguistic science proves this. And so they were able to convince these Danites to join the church. Those who didn't had gone down to the south to become the Confederates. And you know them by the inverted pentagram, the sign of Lucifer, the Illuminati. And so these Danites are also missionaries going out to tell people about the Book of Mormon. They're supposed to say that it's the learning of the Jews and that it has a warning voice for us in the latter days. Well, nope. Instead, they said, we're Christian. Here's another testament of Jesus Christ. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No. This was all part of their plot to destroy Joseph Smith and his church. And so these Danites, once brought in, likewise were going around telling people who were not affiliated with any of the Freemason stuff that this is a Christian church. We have an American literal history book about Jesus coming to the natives. And yes, when you turn it literal history, you can allow for all sorts of abominations. You know, white men can turn black just by being wicked. If you have daughters, rape them. It's okay. God approves. God was one such product. I smell somebody cooking breakfast. Eggs. Some kind of a meat. I don't think it's bacon. Smells good. It is so expensive going grocery shopping. So. And it's only going to get worse because we're about to head into a financial collapse. You aware of this? Or have you been watching Fox News? Because Samson and the Foxes has already occurred. That's what people are not understanding. We're in the final year of the latter days. I've been doing videos since the beginning. I started on the 23rd of September, 2017. And that's when I had my website set up for a business program in which I could put videos up on the website and other stuff. And so, yeah, with the Google algorithm at the time, yeah, my pictures were everywhere. It was awesome. And the church didn't like that. And so then, yes, Nelson came out and gave his talk about how they've forced the internet service providers to tamper with their algorithms to protect the church and delete me, erase me from history. And they succeeded. And there was even that one several day period of time where the search engines were all in unison deleting their files. And the resulting condition was I got erased. I was erased from the records on the internet. And I reported it to the government, and nothing was done. And I don't think anybody else knew. Just those who watched the one guy's YouTube channel that I learned about it from. As I was trying to figure out, why is this happening? And sure enough, yeah. They were purging the records. And that's why the church now is the dominant search thing for the church. If you put in Mormon, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, That's what you get as a result. They have manipulated the whole internet to favor the church. So, yay. We're all doomed. All right. So, let's take you to so we go 45. Yeah, we'll do 45 first, and then we'll cover section 101, because that leads us into 19 July 1840 that Joseph Smith gave as a sermon, and Brigham Young refused to publish it because Joseph Smith exposes him as Judas. All right, so this was 1831, March 7th, when this was given. And so this is when Sidney Rigdon is being rewarded for his work on the Book of Mormon. They didn't have the money to pay him. They had to have the money to pay for the printing of the Book of Mormon. And they couldn't go to the Batavian Press because, Mormons, there was some information that you did not receive because you were honest in all your dealings and weren't listening when I was talking to ex-Mormons, former Mormons, and non-Mormons. So just understand that there's missing information. Relax. Just missing information. Because you won't believe it. You're a willing participant as a Mormon in the Great and Abominable Church. So just own it and understand. And I could try to request that you leave me alone, but you're not going to do that, are you? You can't give me my freedom. You can't give me rights. You've got to put me in bondage if I will refuse to be silent, right? And so, they couldn't get it from the Batavian Press that fronted the money to William Morgan. They needed to recover the money they lost from him, so they published the book about the three ranks of Freemasonry that is common in both the Scottish Rites and the York Rites, and also a description of the duties and responsibilities of Joseph Smith Sr. as the Master Mason. And this is how I knew what Joseph Smith Sr. was obligated to do in 9/11/1826 in Canandaigua, New York. And so they had to find another press, and they had to find another source of money. And so while Sidney Rigdon was working on it in Ohio, Martin Harris was utilized. And because Joseph Smith had worked on his farm, digging a well. And in the well, he found the two rocks for his little hat trick and demonstrated that to Martin Harris. So Martin Harris already knew about Joseph and his hat trick, already knew Joseph. Is that the fire alarm for the breakfast? Or is that the tracks train? It's got to be the tracks train, but it's just so loud. It's like an echo chamber. I guess I could do research and see if 853 is connected to it. But it should go off shortly, if it is. But, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that, it's over. And then I'm not too far away from the airport, so you often hear helicopters and airplanes and bears, oh my. And so Martin Harris, because of what happened on 9/11/1826, was in a frenzy over the Freemasons generally because of the reporter that had exposed it and added some liberties in his article. And so the people all over the West burned down almost all of the Freemason lodges, the temples. And so the Freemasonry had to go underground to stay out of the limelight. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith in 1842 becomes a Master Mason of the Scottish Rites Lodge. It was now safe again to be a part of Freemasonry again. But it took that long. They had to rebuild after that. And so there are many rules that had to be changed in order to get people to come back to Freemasonry. So understand that the modern Freemasonry is not the same as the ancient Freemasonry before 1826. And so Martin Harris was put on the Anti-Mason Committee in Palmyra. And so he can't be involved with the Book of Mormon. He can't see the manuscripts. He can't be told about them. He can't be told that these are what William Morgan had, because he's going to sound the alarm. And they can't risk getting exposed. The Book of Mormon must be published to warn America. And so Martin Harris is causing problems. He's demanding to be involved with the project if he's going to have to pay for it. He's not just going to be a blank check. And so technically they should have just written the Book of Mormon and then come out with it in 1829 and asked for Martin Harris's help at that time. But they thought that they needed a cover story with Joseph Jr. while Sidney Rigdon was writing the book, so that they can have a witness to what was going on. And the witness stabbed him in the back anyway, as he stole the manuscripts and went to his brethren in Palmyra to see if there was some kind of connection to the anti-Mason movement. And thus Joseph Smith had to take a sabbatical for a year. And that's where Senior said, "Get the hell out of my presence." Senior had to rewrite the 116 pages and cast Joseph down to Susquehanna River, and had Emma's father sell Joseph some land down there in Susquehanna, because the Hales also had to be banished from Harmony, Pennsylvania. And since Susquehanna River, there was a town there that used to be called Harmony, used to be, not anymore, not under the Smiths. They thought that that could be a cover story for them, so that it was that Harmony and not Harmony north of Pittsburgh, which was in between Ohio with Sidney Rigdon and the farm in Manchester. And so now they've distanced themselves away from Sidney Rigdon as the author by placing Joseph Smith down there in Susquehanna. But they made a mistake, because they were reacting to the event, trying to fix it, and they had made some errors that exposes them. And one of those is that Section 10 of the Doctrine and Covenants is 1829 when it was written. And oops, If you thought 3 months to write the Book of Mormon in its entirety was a miracle, try 1.5 months. So yeah, Oliver Cowdery with the Whitmer home, that whole stuff, that was Oliver Cowdery now having to babysit Joseph Smith because he can't be trusted. Because Martin Harris stole 116 pages. And there was a reason, there was a cause, because Joseph Smith and Emma lost their firstborn child. And that opened the window for Martin Harris to grab the documents and run. And the Methodists of Emma's family didn't like it that Joseph Smith was a glass looker, hadn't been arrested for it, and they wanted nothing to do with his kind, and so Emma had to go as well, be banished from the Methodists, and Emma's parents likewise had to be banished from Harmony, and thus the need for a new home. And so Senior, as the Master Mason, is the one responsible for fixing the problem that his son caused. And so thus the idea of sending him down to what used to be Harmony, Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. But, yeah. I did the video. I should bring it up since we're doing the video on all the prophecies, and it's already 1 hour long. The first vision of a grove of trees by the Great Lakes is a prophecy of an additional prophecy expanding upon Ezekiel chapter 17, the parable of the eagle and the Lebanon branch. That's about the Mormon who is to be born in America. He's a descendant of Osiris, because that's where it comes from. I'd have to tell you all about the story of Osiris's first death, where his brother nailed him in a coffin, sent him afloat up the Nile, and it landed in Beirut, Lebanon, Babel. And the king of Babel came to the shore, saw the coffin had turned into a cedar of Lebanon, and carved it into Osiris's Dej pillar symbol. And so that's what's being referred to as the tree of Lebanon, cedar of Lebanon, with the highest lofty branches, because he's the birthright blessing son, descendant of Osiris, which refers to the David-Moses dynasty of the 18th dynasty Egyptians and the pharaohs. And so Joseph Smith indicates that Moses, the story of Moses, is what's being referred to with his religion, with Mormonism. And thus the original name of the church of the Egyptians was the Amun priesthood, but it's now called Melchizedek, to avoid the too frequent repetition of the name Jesus Christ. That was an awesome series of videos I did right before conference. And sure enough, Mormons did not understand. It's Amun, the Egyptian sun god at noonday. That's why the visionary accounts describe the visitors as Amun. And thus the new name Nephi for this Amun, who is a Mormon. Born of Zeus, a 14-year-old Mormon girl. Yeah, that would have been hilarious. My mom obviously would not believe any of that. It's her birthday today. She's been dead since 12/21/21. If you've been watching my channel on that. And so, yeah, hilarious. My dad wouldn't be too happy about that either. And so, how do we transition back to section 45? I think we just abruptly do it, don't we? So Joseph Smith is giving a rewritten prophecy of Matthew 24, giving some added information. Takes out, no man knows the day and the hour. As the Joseph Smith Matthew, with Sidney Rigdon, kept it in for that reason. They were only using it to insert additional information and make minor changes as they saw fit. And so the restructuring of the order of Matthew 24 is the main focus for the Joseph Smith translation Matthew. But here, this is a completely rewriting of Matthew 24, though using it as a template to present it. Now remember, learning of the Jews, manner of prophecy of the latter days. And so it's not Jesus, it's Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday of the Egyptians, who's a mortal parents. There's no child bride incest involved. And so it's not Jerusalem. It's either the United States or Utah, specifically Salt Lake City, where the headquarters of the Great and Abominable Church is. And thus the Jews are Mormons. Okay? And so, the time period, as I've gone over with you, comes from Revelation chapter 12 and Revelation chapter 19. So 2017 is the first year of the latter days. 2024 is the last year of the latter days. That's why I'm saying this is the last year of the latter days. Next year is it. April 2024. And so, hearken, all you people of my church. He's saying, Mormons, I'm giving you a parable, and you are the ones that it's about. And so, like I told you, it's not Jesus, it's not Jerusalem, it's not the Jerusalem temple, it's the Salt Lake temple, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So I'm Alpha and Omega. And I did that the first and last day of darkness with this year's day of darkness. So the 3 days of darkness, 3 hours, because the Gospels use both versions. 3 hours of darkness on the cross, which is the sun god on the crossroads over the United States of America. Because the sun, when it's eclipsed, casts a shadow on the earth. Eclipses do that. And the solar eclipses are a focused path on earth, whereas lunar eclipses are a broad darkness on earth. It covers a wide range of the earth. And so when they prophesy of solar eclipses using constellation characters in their scriptures, they're telling you exactly when the solar eclipse is going to happen. They give you a star date. And that also reveals where on earth it will occur. And so the 3 days of darkness, the 3 hours on the cross, the 3 days in the tomb as dead, because that's the symbol of eclipses, death and rebirth. That's what these Illuminati were plotting, is to use the star dates as their time to coordinate their attacks. And and so they knew it was America. They knew of the date that they had to have everything prepared for, to divide America into the dichotomous and non-dichotomous categorizations of brainwashing, to get you fully distracted with all these attacks on our democracy. Majority does not determine truth. Constitutional republic based on science. But nobody wants to do that. And so that's why he calls himself Alpha and Omega. It's not only the first and last letters of the Greek Koine alphabet, not the Paleo-Greek, because Omega was not only a different symbol character, the universal symbol of the Egyptian sun, but it was also not last. And so it's Koine Greek that turned it into Alpha and Omega. The Jews kept the Phoenician script with Paleo-Hebrew. That's why I refer to Paleo-Hebrew as Phoenician, that they're one and the same. It's because it's the exact same script. So you have Alpha, which is the paths over America. And I have to, again, upgrade my most recent posting on academia.edu about the complete Paleo-Hebrew decipherment. Because Alpha is the paths of the sun for the latter days. They were giving us, in the alphabet script, which comes from Egyptian characters, the clues and prophecies of the latter days, the date and the time. And so, yes, it is an alpha symbol over America for the latter days, Omega, which is the symbol of the horizon, the sun rising up on the horizon, the Akhet in Egyptian. So the Akhet Aten, the horizon of Aten, of Moses, Akhenaten. Yeah, Joseph Smith knew all this. And so, yes, as Omega, as the horizon, the sun rising or setting. So it's birth and death. That's the symbolism that's involved here. And the 3 days of darkness. That's what the language was all about. Prophecy of the latter days. And so that's just wild. In Paleo-Hebrew, the last letter is Tau. It's the cross. The first and last days of darkness. And so they give you Alpha, which is all 3 days of darkness, and then last is the first and the last day of darkness. Just, it's masterful how smart they were. And yes, you just got exclusive additional information of the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew. So despite the email joker who thinks I'm not smart. Who doesn't know what I'm talking about. I just gave you something that you're not going to believe in. So, but the Smiths knew of this too, and I'll get to that. This is going to be long. Yeah, 53. Not 50. It was 56. So it's late. So it could be the other. Really bugs me. And I understand it's louder when I hear it repeated. So it's got to even be bugging you guys even worse. All right. So let's get down to where he gets into it here. All right. Signs of the coming, when coming in the clouds of heaven. The rapture, the Mormon rapture. That Jesus has already been shot down. I saw it. Anna Kendrick's boyfriend shot him. That was the best scene ever. Rapture Palooza. Alright. Looking upon your absence from your spirits, your bodies to be a bondage. But yeah, all of these are prophecies as I've gone over. It has to be restoring. It's about restoring the church, not about a zombie apocalypse. And the restoration of scattered Mormonism. And so, yeah, Mormons are scattered all over the earth, and they need to be gathered to Zion in southern Illinois. We'll get to that. 19 July, 1840. And now ye behold the Salt Lake Temple, which is in Utah, which ye call the house of God. And your enemies say that this house shall never fall. Yeah, there's the Brigham Young, who technically was saying it was going to last through the 18th century, or the 19th century, but Mormons went off and said it's going to last throughout the millennium in the latter days. But yeah, that's why the church is remodeling it to withstand earthquakes and making it so that all of the original artwork are gone, so that you don't see the all-seeing eye of God at the top beam and other stuff that was in there, which the church had previously taken out other stuff. There used to be a sword on the wall and all that stuff, but yeah, that was before my time. And so, yeah, this is a prophecy, and it happened. It was fulfilled. Because Mormons say that the Salt Lake Temple will never fall. And so it was hilarious. And I did the videos of, got a raspberry seed stuck in my teeth. There's a story of raspberries. It's amazing. Women, if you indulge in a particular food, apparently that transfers to your baby. I don't understand it, but that's the way it is. My mom loved raspberries and told of how she guzzled down a whole bunch of raspberries as a little girl and got sick from it. But yeah, that's my favorite fruit, is raspberries. And so yeah, I've got raspberry jam, raspberry juice, cran-raspberry technically, raspberry yogurt. And so yeah, I love raspberries. And it's not because my mom said it. It's because I loved it. And that's why she brought it up, is because I loved raspberries. And so in Placentia, we had a raspberry bush off to the side of the house next to my sister's bedroom. And so I didn't like picking the raspberries because of the thorns, thistles, briars, and noxious weeds. But yeah, I like them. And they're great in milk and sugar. Gotta have the sugar. But again, yeah, my body, my DNA informs me that my body handles sugar with no problem. Lots and lots of sugar. Sugar, sugar, sugar. Not high fructose corn syrup, sugar. But anyway, that's a distraction for you. So here he comes. The great and abominable church, destruction shall come upon this generation in the future as a thief in the night. Thief in the night. No, I can do one thing certain. I'm coming back for you. Have you got a gun? Do you remember me? Who'd you use it on? You're going to burn in hell. That's it. Judas Priest. I knew it was Judas Priest, but I couldn't figure out the title of the song. I was thinking this might be the theme song. Burn in hell. Thief in the night. Okay. Burn in hell. That was awful long. That can't be the gotta be the fire alarm. I don't know. It's bugging me for some reason today more than previously. And this people, Mormons. So the Salt Lake Temple in Utah, which Mormons will call the house of God, because it's not, it needs to be set in order. That's the other prophecy from section 85 that all Mormons know. Everybody knows that one. They're looking for a man like Moses, or the one mighty and strong. It's the same guy. It's the man like Moses. But yeah, and so you as a Mormon don't get struck by lightning for blasphemy. Only the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does. That's the prophecy that he's giving to you. And you missed it because you don't understand that Jupiter is lightning symbol, and so is Zeus. It must be. Yeah, I'm smelling. Yeah, the meat is more dominant now. I'm getting hungry. I'm salivating like Pavlov's dogs. Which, as a scientific experiment, was fine, sort of. He was torturing his dogs, but he wasn't trying to use it to brainwash humans. As in, who moved my cheese? Telling businesses to treat your employees like mice, like rodents, and tell them to get over it. You're going to run your business how you see fit. And if they don't go without a if they go without a paycheck, screw them. Because that's what the cheese is the paycheck for the employees. Oh, you don't get your paycheck this time around. Sorry. Deal with it. And the church, the distribution center, had a big old thing on this. With that book. That's why I know about it. They were trying to tell Mormons who worked for them that, hey, there's going to be times where we're not going to pay you. Deal with it. We pay you minimum wage, which is less than the living wage. And so you think you're going to have trouble now buying groceries? Wait till we cause the latter days. It's still the same minimum wage. It hasn't changed in America. And so, yes, the cost of living has greatly made those who are on living or minimum wage poorer. The Book of Mormon tells us how to form an economy, by the way. That is another prophecy that's added. Not supposed to have a monetary system. It is the influence of a monetary system of government or economy. Whether it's a barter system, any kind of system where things are used for monetary value. Can't have it because it'll cause a division between rich and poor by nature. And so in order to have everyone prosper equally, you have to do away with a monetary system. And that's what the Book of Mormon tells you. And so that's what's supposed to be used as the economy in Zion. But Mormons are wicked, are complicit with the church's evil, and want to be put in bondage, kept in bondage. And because you do understand that right now you're only paying 10% of your income. Yeah, well, the law of consecration, remember that covenant path? Yeah, you're going to give it all to the church. And then they will give you what you need to survive to continue to be a slave. Unless you're an 11-year-old girl. Please leave. Don't stay. It is not good. These guys are evil. Don't become evil with them. Please. And there's going to be Mormons who just say, I want an 11-year-old girl. You just don't understand. The devil does not support his own. The church will betray you if it serves their interests. They're using you now. You know, Mia Love, she was a congresswoman for one term. She caved to the president. She did not stand up and say, this is wrong. And so she lost. And then he came out and said, Mia Love showed me no love. And then she said, oh, I now see that I was deceived. God. You couldn't figure it out that you're a black woman? You had 2 strikes against you and you couldn't figure it out? In the Conservative Party, you couldn't figure it out. That's why I voted for the other guy, even though it was the better of 2 weevils. God. So yes, destruction. And it says that Mormons are going to be scattered among all nations. And so yes, it could be Brigham Young's church that is the fulfillment of this. But then again, it could also be because what's coming up. But it's going to be a rapid thing that's going to happen here. Because when the United States shut down Brigham Young's church under John Taylor, who was in prison, the church was destroyed. It ceased to exist on the face of the earth. But the scattering was the change in policy when the church got reorganized under Heber J. Grant to do missionary work around the world again. And they now changed it to don't come to Zion, build Zion where you are. So, Bednar, come to Zion. And then after I did my videos, Build Zion where you are. With yesterday's video. Hilarious. I use bottled water because being a new apartment building, I'm hearing the news reports of Utah and their codes for water safety. I can't trust tap water anymore. So, yeah, yay. And I have noticed that by drinking the regular water, that my eyes are bluer now. The yellowish from the iron content is disappearing. So, yay. Blue eyes, baby's got blue eyes. Don't it make my blue eyes blue? Or was it brown eyes blue? I think it was brown eyes blue. You know, only Tabitha and I have blue eyes. I've got some rare DNA, thanks to my mom's dad. Yeah, well, my mom's side of the family is where my height comes from. My mom's dad's side of the family is my mom's side of the family is where I get my blue eyes also. But my mom's dad's side of the family is where I get my dark hair. It's graying, but the dark wavy hair. And so, yeah, and the hairiness of the body as well. Not too hairy, you know, no hair on the back. But yeah, with my dad cutting my hair as a kid, he kept going further down the neckline. And so, yeah, the story is true, boys. There are no boys listening, but yeah, I was told as a kid that any part of your body that you shave will grow back more furiously. So, yes, that is true. And so, that's why the bearded woman, because she had little hairs on her face, and so she kept shaving them like a man, and yeah, they grew in, and now she's the bearded lady in the circus. That's how that happens. So, yeah, I used to watch my mom. She would tweeze her hairs rather than shave while she was waiting for my baseball practice to end or piano practice to end or whatever. So yeah, I'm throwing in memories of my childhood because my mom's birthday is today and she is dead. Still waiting to find out if my dad's dead. I did figure out the problem. Legacy informed me that the legacy site that I was trying to access was the wrong legacy site. So, I solved that problem. Alrighty. And the Salt Lake Temple, here it comes, Mormons. This is a prophecy of Joseph Smith. It has not happened yet. Sort of. Because the United States, when Brigham Young sent them the death threat, the terrorist threat, they sent in the military, and that postponed the construction of the Salt Lake Temple. But here's the prophecy that is in other scriptures. Samson tears down the walls of the Philistine temple. The great and abominable church's temple is destroyed by Samson. Jesus is arrested as a terrorist threat because he says this Jerusalem temple will be destroyed. Not a single brick will stand. But I'll build it again in 3 days. So yes, that's a prophecy of the latter days. Here Joseph Smith is giving it to Mormons with a Mormon interpretation. Like I said, he says It's a Mormon who is the Christ. And so everything is interpreted for Mormons now. This is what he's done. He's saying that the Salt Lake Temple will be destroyed. And I remembered that I was going to talk about Magna earthquake. But that's why they're doing the retrofitting, trying to get it done before 8 April 2024's conference weekend on the 6th and the 7th. Is to have the dedication ceremony. And so they need to have the earthquake proofing done first, and then they can work on the rest of the building and all that after. And so that's how they planned it, is so that if an earthquake were to happen, if they have it finished, the earthquake protection finished, it should protect. But it's only for, I think they said, a 7-point something size earthquake. So not an earthquake bigger than that. And yeah, they're saying that the destruction, the desolation, the temple which ye now see shall be thrown down, that there shall not be left one stone upon another. Because he's using Matthew as the template. This is what got Jesus locked up as a terrorist threat and assassinated. And it's also a prophecy for the Mormon Christ, who would be incarcerated by the great and abominable church, giving orders to the government to lock him up indefinitely without a trial, violation of all the laws of the land, and tortured, if possible, unto death, to murder him. That one has come true. I've got the receipts from the church for this act. And it shall come to pass that the Mormons, right now, this generation of Jews, shall not pass away until every desolation which I have told you concerning them shall come to pass. There's more. Yes, the Book of Mormon tells us that we're going to have natural disasters. Yep. It's telling us about the day that shall burn as an oven. Still waiting. That ye may know that the end of the world is here. Ye say also that ye know that the heavens and the earth shall pass away. And fulfilled concerning Utah, when that day shall come, shall a remnant be scattered among the nations. So it seems that with this destruction of Utah, Mormons are going to be scattered out. They're not going to know where to go for Zion, but they're going to be scattered. They're going to exodus. It'll, because you missed the Exodus in 2020 and 2022, because the Book of Mormon tells us of the 2020 Exodus. The 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem is not about Jesus being born. They were coding it so that you would know the year of the Exodus. And that has to do with solar eclipses again. Because on 8 April 4 CE, there was an eclipse over Russia. That's also telling us who the foreign nation enemy is, who will put a president on our throne in 2017, the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah. That's 2017, because Lehi has the book of Revelation's sign in the heavens, retold in a dream. Chapter 12. The date is 23rd September 2017. That is the start of the ministry. The birth. That's why it's immaculate. It has nothing to do with Zeus raping his 14-year-old daughter. And Joseph Smith history, or Joseph Smith translation, tells us that it is the date because they move verse 5 of his birth and Saturn in the constellation of Ophiuchus to verse 3 to be part of that sign, that star date. And so yes, I have confirmed that. With my most popular video on YouTube, I didn't know it then. I found out later, oh, Saturn, Ophiuchus, because I was assuming that it was in order of the events. And so I had found the sign of the dragon. That was the 17th of December, 2017, the 5th day of darkness for Hanukkah. And then I had found the sign of the stars falling from the tail of the dragon, which, yes, Monson, he died on that day. And so I've shown you the pictures of Monson fulfilling scriptural prophecy after he came out with the tetrad and said, nope, these are not the latter days. Nope. And so that was next, is the birth of the Christ with Saturn and Ophiuchus. And I knew that the birth was with September 23rd, 2017, but I couldn't figure out the God and his throne part until I found out. That's what the ancient Babylonians understood, is that Ophiuchus was the throne of God. And so Saturn, being the father of Jupiter, that's God, the father of Emmanuel, Father Amen. And so, yeah, I've confirmed that the Smiths are correct by moving verse 5 to verse 3. But yes, they knew the dates too. And so Joseph Smith, likewise, is telling us, hey, these are when it's going to occur. It's a prophecy of the latter days, not just, talking about the Book of Mormon coming forth. And so then he's repeating that the Mormons, after this destruction, will be gathered again. And that's Moses, the man like Moses. He will gather the Mormons from all over the earth to the correct Zion. And it has to be done by 8 April 2024. And I guess there could be a gathering after that. But, yeah, the destruction will happen, and thus going to the correct Zion in southern Illinois, not Missouri. I'm probably going to have to take a break, so we'll finish this up, and then we'll cover the others. And it's been my experience that I have to put this video into one huge long video for you because of the problems of people and the YouTube algorithms, and they always want to watch others and they don't want to watch the original. But if I could trust you, no, well, I don't trust YouTube. And so, yeah, it looks like what's going to happen is the destruction this year. And then Mormons are going to go their own way. And I've done the videos, because you aren't listening to me. You're not reading and searching the Joseph Smith papers for 19 July 1840. And so there's going to be Mormons who are going to do their own thing. You're going to have Mormons who, with the destruction, will go to Missouri, and that will be a failed prospect. There'll be Mormons who will go around the world. It's possible, scattered among all nations, that this could be an enemy, foreign enemy attack, and taking hostages, just like Russia is doing in Ukraine. They're stealing people, not just children, 14-year-old girls, and taking them back into Russia. And so if this is what's going to happen, yeah, I can see that. But we'll have to wait and see what the destruction will be. It'll mean, yes, the United States will be destroyed, and that other nations will come in and replace the United States citizens, not just Utah Mormons, because I don't see that happening. The government saying, oh, it's just Mormons? Yeah, take Utah, we don't care. They've been a thorn in our side anyway, and they only get 3 seats on the Senate, or it's 2 seats in the Senate, isn't it? Problems ensued for the 2020 census that messed things up and prevented us from getting our 3rd seat. But and so then wars and rumors of wars. Whole earth shall be in commotion. Yeah, when America falls, so will the rest of the world. Our enemy nations are already picking fights, starting fights. The Sudan is the latest wars that have started. So, not a surprise. And people are going to say, Christ delayeth his coming until the end of the world. Their hearts will fail them. Christ, Jesus, does not come. This is Albert Pike's letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. They are going to destroy Christianity by demoralizing Christians. That the Christ of Jesus fails them. That's what they're bringing up here. That is their plot. The love of men shall wax cold. Yeah, dear God. Raping 14-year-old girls that are your daughters. That's cold. Iniquity shall abound. But yeah, the people are just wanting to commit crime. Abusive, awful crimes. We have sex predators still in Congress. We have seditious conspirators still in Congress. They can't hold office if they've committed seditious conspiracy against the United States. That's all that needs to be done, is for the DOJ to prosecute. And they have to be removed from Congress. And new people have to be put in. And that would save our nation. And they're not doing it because the DOJ is also corrupted. Our whole government is corrupt, and they're setting us up for failure, to be destroyed and conquered. The enemy has succeeded. And what's coming will come. And so, wow. And so then the fullness of my gospel shall come forth, with the 200-pound Egyptian gold plates. I really need help. But they receive it not, for they perceive not the light. Yeah, Mormons don't believe me. Mormons turn their hearts from me because of the precepts of men, not the president of the church. Yeah, you're not obeying the president of the church. He's told you to do some awful things and you're not obeying. Jesus is ordering you to do those awful things and you're not obeying. Alright, here's something that, yeah, this was a failed prophecy. Joseph Smith is wrong. There shall be men standing in that generation that shall not pass until they shall see an overflowing scourge, for a desolating sickness shall cover the land. But those who hearken shall stand in holy places and shall not be moved. But from among the wicked, yeah, the holy place was Zion, New Jerusalem, which means you had to go in the Exodus, but you missed it in 2020. And so, but among the wicked, men shall lift up their voices, curse God, and die. I saw many news reports about that. Fulfilled. And there shall be earthquakes, also in diverse places. Fulfilled. Many desolations. Yes, this is the climate change disasters. And people will kill one another. Yep. Fulfilled. And yeah, America has the most guns and are the most violent with those guns. There's another place, I think it's, I can't remember where, but they have a lot of guns, but no crime. Huh. Parable of fig trees. So yeah, when you see them blossoming, the time is near. So those who believe will be looking for the great day of Amen, even the signs of the coming of Amen. They say the Lord and Son of Man here. Notice Son of Man, not Son of Zeus. For they shall see signs and wonders, for they shall be shown forth in the heavens above and in the earth beneath. All this time I've been showing you the signs in the heavens. And yes, the prophecy from the Book of Mormon, the added prophecy that Mormons will get bored of the signs in the heavens and no more look for signs, because Monson said these are not the signs you're looking for. Move along. Star Wars homage. So, yep. Fulfilled. And Mormons will see blood, fire, vapor, and smoke. Again, more natural disasters. Here's the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. The tetrad. Also the pre-tetrad that set things up for the latter days, as well as the tetrad that we had in 21 and 22. Fulfilled. And so it goes back again to the Moses gathering, man-like Moses gathering to independent, or Southern Illinois. Because it's Southern Illinois, because that's where X marks the spot of the first and last days of darkness. That's why. It's the cross of Christ, the Tau. Because the Romans didn't use crosses, they used poles. So for the authors to put crosses means they're trying to tell you something. And looking for me in the clouds of heaven, clothed with power and great glory. Yep, 8 April 2024. And so if you're not watching for him, you will be utterly destroyed. He uses cut off like he does in the history, but he tells us that that comes from Acts, which is destroyed, not cut off. And if you knew Greek, you would know that the correct translation is utterly destroyed. Joseph Smith uses utterly wasted with the addition that I read to you from Malachi. And then destroyed is used to say don't show anybody the plates or you're going to be destroyed, because of the Illuminati threat. They're looking for the manuscript pages. Don't show them to anybody, otherwise you're going to be murdered, because they're going to murder you for having those manuscript pages of William Morgan. And so Joseph Smith is using all that to teach you, rather than just coming out and saying, you're going to be utterly destroyed. Hearken to him or you're going to be utterly destroyed. Alright. An angel shall sound his trump, and Mormons who have slept shall come forth to meet him in the cloud. No, this is the restoration of the church of Joseph Smith. And redemption shall be perfect, and the saints shall come forth from the four quarters of the earth. Wow. Huh. So the internet's still around, huh? Huh. Interesting. So despite the chaos that's going to have to be compacted, this is it. This is the last year. If they are so concerned of not letting it known that Joseph Smith is a prophet, and that the Book of Mormon is a prophetic book, revealing their plot, so that they purposely screw up their whole plans because of me, to prove that I'm wrong. They're under a tight constraint to get this going, because we're in the final year. Next year, 8 April 2024, it's all supposed to be finished and done with, and rise from the ashes the true church. So, what's it going to be, enemy? Are you going to fulfill it according to your plot of 200 years? Or are you going to say, we don't want Travis to be correct so badly that we're going to purposely delay and make none of it true? We'll show him. But yeah, that's what it'll be, is after the destructions, then will come the gathering. I can put it out now. When you see the destruction, come to Southern Illinois. Just in case the internet doesn't work. Okay. But yeah, he's saying, then shall the arm of the Lord fall upon the nations. Lord shall, okay. And so what's your, oh man, we're getting near 2 hours. We're going to have to do it in parts. Of necessity. Okay. Because YouTube's going to screw you up. I can do a separate playlist, but alright. Because it's going to take a long time to save anyway for a 2-hour video. Which I could be working on it while I'm saving, I guess. Or I can shower and save. I probably should do that. Okay. So yeah, let's finish up this and then we'll get to the mount in the second part. And then the other stuff that I need to get to. So yes, it looks like destruction is going to happen first. Chaos and destruction. But not utter destruction. Mormons are going to get scattered. They're going to be gathered by the man like Moses. Because in that time of scattering, Mormons are going to be confused. I thought the church was true. I thought the priesthood would never be taken from the earth. I thought. And so then they'll finally go, oh, okay, this guy who's been telling us all these time, and we chose not to believe him, is now telling us to come to Southern Illinois. And so, yeah. And then they'll finally come, at least those who choose to come. Not all Mormons will, but when you've been humbled, you're a little more willing to listen. Because Albert Pike says that he's going to do this to you so that you have no compass to follow. And he's got more stuff to come. The utter destruction of all nations, not just America. And so there won't be a Christ. They don't believe in a Christ either, because it's just too unreal to believe in a human being who's going to fulfill the Jewish prophecies. They're using the Jewish prophecies to show Christians that Christianity is not true and will utterly demoralize you, to show you that you were fooled by Constantine's creation of Jesus. And so they're not expecting the true Christ of Jews to emerge. They don't want him to. And if he does show his face, they're going to have him murdered. Just to prove that they're right, that he's not true. And so, yeah, this is going to be a massive historical event for the records. But yeah, after he then gathers Mormons from all over the world after they've been scattered, this now seems to be the case. But again, it hasn't happened yet. But this is what it's saying here. And it's confirmed in section 101's prophecy from the parable there. And confirmed by 19 July 1840, which we'll get to. So, yeah, other Mormons, yeah, in my thinking about the different Mormon views that will happen, I thought that there might be Mormons that would stay behind in the rubble to try to rebuild the church here in Utah. But it could still be a scenario. But I don't know. If it is a foreign government that's involved in taking over America and destroying it and causing the destruction and the rubble, it may not be. I mean, there will be pocket resistance groups who will try to fight the enemy on their own. You know, all the militia groups that have been a thorn in the side to the government will now be fighting to protect America rather than trying to destroy America. And so, yeah, them that come shall burn them. That's what that other edition indicated, that there is going to be a physical enemy attack on America, not just a self-collapse with the economy and all that other stuff. And so, yeah, I can totally see the GOP purposely not restoring the debt limit ceiling thing and us foreclosing on or defaulting on our debts, which will utterly destroy us, because one thing's going to lead to another, and it's just going to get worse in America. But yeah, it's a Democrat president. They're fully outraged. And so, yeah, they're not going to allow his presidency to be successful. They are going to destroy America if they have to show that a Democrat president shouldn't have been in office. And the Book of Mormon reveals some other things. You know, the death of the chief judge, for example. And the prophecies of Pharaoh and his sons. Even Eli. That's for Monday. Oh man, is it Monday? Wow, because I was going to do a Sign in the Heaven video for Monday, about Monday, and yet this morning, after waking up 10 hours later, I was inspired to do this instead. So, man, we've got a lot of stuff to cover here, and we're already at 2 hours. So, part 1, and we'll continue. Please start them in order. I'm going to put this one up first, so yeah, obviously you're going to do this one first. But after I get them all up, that's when you're going to get people who are going to go to the different parts. So maybe I should start it with part 1, part 2, part 3. So here we go.